It's just heartbreaking. 11-month-old Charlie Gard was born with an extremely rare genetic disease that has no cure. He's blind and he's deaf. And he also cannot breathe or move on his own. And now the hospital in London wants to take him off of life support. The issue has sparked a global debate. And even the Pope and the President Trump, have both weighed in. With us now is attorney Jesse Weber and National Law Journal contributor and former general counsel Kent Zimmerman. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
I will start with you, Jesse. Explain to us briefly, if you can, where British law stands on this.
Absolutely. So all three courts that they tried to go to, they took it to a lower court, a middle court, and the court of last resort to try to resolve this issue about whether or not the hospital is justified in removing life support for this child. And when all of those courts ruled against them, they ruled in favor of the hospital, they took their appeal finally to the European Court of Human Rights, which does have binding authority over the UK in this instance. And they too ruled, based upon the evidence, based upon the testimony that they heard, that the prolonging Charlie's life would create increased suffering and pain for him, and it would be inhumane, particularly, as you said, he can't see, he can't hear, he can't move, he suffers from seizures, and it is their belief that prolonging his life is inhumane.
Kent, their belief being, a group of strangers versus the belief of these parents. It's really hard to believe for a lot of people here in America.
Yeah, you're hitting the nail right on the head, Heather, and this is such a heartbreaking case. I've got to tell you, my heart is with that child's parents, but I'm proud to be an American today, because if this happened in America, it would be up to the doctors treating the child in consultation with the parents, and they would determine the appropriate treatment because they're closest to the child. And if one hospital didn't want to treat him here in America, they'd be able to take him to another. And that the UK government won't let the parents bring the child to the U.S. for treatment, where he's already been offered by a hospital here in the U.S. treatment, and they have the money to bring him here. It's astounding to me that it's not up to the parents whether or not they could bring him here for treatment. It's really surprising, and it's heartbreaking.
And I believe the Hospital of the Vatican has also volunteered to have him taken there. This is the statement from President Trump. If we can pull that up on Twitter, he said, "If I can help little Charlie Gard, as per our friends in the UK and the Pope, we would be delighted to do so." And then if we can also bring up the hospital's response, they're saying, together with Charlie's parents, we are putting plans in place for his care and to give them more time together as a family. Spokesman for the Great Ormond Street Hospital for Children, the NHS Foundation Trust, had that statement to say. So, Jesse, is it even possible that he could be brought here?
I wish, I really do wish that President Trump, who was trying to do the right thing in his tweet and provide a safe haven for them, I don't know how closely he's following the complicated legal issue of this, but he was giving them sanctuary in this country if they were able to come. Unfortunately, he has no authority over the English courts to make something happen here unless some sort of political maneuvering can be happening here to get them over here. I don't see any binding authority to allow this to happen, and which is very unfortunate, because at the end of the day, it really should be, as Ken said, in what we have here in America, where courts don't want to get involved. Allow it to be between the patients, between the parents and the doctors to decide the fate of their child.
And there's this experimental drug or possibility for the child, and even though they say that that's not really a possibility, there is, is possible, Kent, and this is reminiscent of the Terri Schiavo case to a lot of people.
It is. And in the Terri Schiavo case, of course, that was her husband who was the guardian in a dispute with the parents. But the concept is that here in America, if there's the possibility of treatment, if there's a reason for possible hope, we generally allow the doctors and the parents to make the decision, or the doctors and the guardian in the Terri Schiavo case, to make the decision on what should happen. And what's surprising about the UK law is that it's up to judges who, as you said, Heather, never met the child, are not close to his medical care, and even though it's remote, even though the possibility of experimental treatment is remote, even though the child unfortunately has sustained brain damage, it should be up to the doctors and the parents, and in my view, and I think in Jesse's view, to determine the child's future.
Yeah, why not try? Thank you both for joining us today. Appreciate it, and our hearts and prayers go out to this family. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.